Hey guys, before we start, I'm really glad that you decided to join me and learn a bit about Unreal Engine 5. So hopefully we're going to learn a few bits and pieces, and at the end you're going to have your own little game. We'll see how things go. Now I'm going to go into a mixed amount of detail about certain things. I will release separate side videos covering smaller topics in detail. So hopefully you'll get a good understanding of basics. We'll go into a little bit of depth about certain areas, but where I don't go into too much detail, I will have separate videos in case you are interested to just, broaden your understanding on things. So let's get started. All I've done is download the Unreal Engine. I've downloaded the Unreal Engine version 5.0.0. That's just the one because it's just released for me. You might be using a different version. If there are differences in the version, I will put comments, I'll put whatever in, or who knows, I might even just re-record a video. I'm just going to click launch, and then we should get ourselves a game up. I'm going to select games, and then I'm going to select first person. It really doesn't matter what you pick here. Me personally, I'm going to go with first person just because that is going to be the closest to our end result as we want. You can always import these packages later on, but a lot of the things that we're going to use in this tutorial come free in this already. I am just going to name this to Zombie Project, just for the fun of it, and I'm going to click create. This might just take a few seconds just for your computer. Ignore that. Now, once that loads up, you should be presented with something like this. A lovely little map that you can fly around on using WASD. And when you are holding the right mouse button, you can click on objects, you can drag them around with this little dial here. What else you have is a lovely button here that you can click to play. Let's just play. So we actually get a whole bunch of stuff with this template. So we're able to walk around, jump, pick up this weapon, or even able to shoot it. And look at these lovely little bullets here. What I would really recommend for the first little while, I don't know guys, give yourself a minute or two if this is the first time using the engine, just mess around. Have a little look at the folders, how they're kind of set up. Now, it's great that we have all this content here, but we are actually going to get one other, we are going to import one other thing into this. So I am going to add, I believe it is add feature or content pack. And I'm actually going to add in the third person. Now the reason that we want the third person is because we want this character here. We're going to turn them into an AI that we're going to be able to fight. I'm actually going to just come back into content, and what I'm going to do is just delete this third person folder. Force delete, that's perfect. After deleting the third person folder, we're still going to be left with this folder here called characters. And wouldn't you know it, we have a whole bunch of different characters here that we're going to be able to put into the game. We can even click on one and drag it out. Sorry, bear with this just 1 second. The first time it loads up, it needs a second to load. We can even put him in the game. So before we get too far ahead of ourselves, what we're going to do is we are going to create a base character. So I'm going to come into first person, and I'm going to go to blueprints, and I'm going to make a new blueprint class. I'm going to select character. I'm going to call this B_character. For naming conventions, you'll see a lot of time that you'll have things like BP, which stands for blueprint. I like to use the letter B as base. So if there's a base, loads of different things are going to come after that base. I'm going to click into this character, and you'll see that there's nothing there. It doesn't have any form of mesh or anything, and I'm going to come into a variable, and I'm going to click this add button to create a new variable. Now, the first one I'm going to do is I'm going to type this is alive. Now this is a variable called a boolean, and a boolean is basically true or false, on or off, whatever way you want to keep that in your mind. The next one that we want to do is going to be health, and we're going to come over here and we're going to change the variable type to a float. Now floats are numbers with a decimal point, so for example 10 or 15.5. We're going to set this value to 100, and I'm going to hit compile and save. Sorry, you might need to hit compile and save just for that to come up. Right, so our base character is going to have 100 health, and it's going to have a status on whether it is alive or not. I'm just going to minimize that just for the moment. I'm now going to come into our first person character, and I'm going to do something called inheritance. And inheritance is when you set one value for one, character or blueprint or whatever way you want to kind of call it, and then you create a child. So our first person character is going to be a child of b_character. Now if I hit compile and save, and if I click into class defaults, you're going to notice that I have the variable of is alive, and I have the same health as the parent I just put into b character. I'm going to click back into b character here. Now, this doesn't seem like much now, but it is incredibly helpful when you're going to be doing the same thing across multiple different actors and characters in your game. It wouldn't make sense to code the health properties every single time into every single character that will appear in the game. What you'd do is you'd create a base character, like we've done now, and then you'd make every single character a child from that base character. Just as an example of how inheritance could work and why it's so powerful and why it's something that you should try get into as soon as you can when you're coding, is we can make a base character and we can then make two children from it, an AI and a player. Now, if we go into the, if we have the base character here, what we can do is we can give it certain things. Like we could give it, health. We could give it, again, that status is alive to check if something is alive. Let's just say, for example, that a character could have, resources. Let's say they have mana or energy, things like that. For all we know, we could set maybe they're flying, how fast, how fast they move, how fast, things like that. Can it move, for example? Then in the difference between the two, we could give the AI, basic AI, so that you wouldn't have to code basic AI for both hostile and passive mobs. If let's just say that it's just going to walk around, maybe they give drops or experience. The player, in the player, you have to give a character, let's say, player input. So when we click mouse, what happens? When we click a mouse, the AI isn't gonna do anything. That's just an example. So I hope this will give you a good explanation about things that can happen. So in our, let's say we create a base character, we can give it health, we can give it a status of, let's say, is alive. Maybe our character has have a resource, let's say mana or stamina, things like that. You can set up character movement. How fast can a character move? Maybe the characters just stay still. Maybe you want to have that as a boolean, true or false. We could then create children from that base character. So, for example, we could have a child which is an AI, and that will create all of the basic AI for the characters. Maybe we want to set up that the AI, when they die, they'll drop experience. But we don't want to code it individually every single time. So let's set that up in the AI. Then we go down to, let's say, hostile and passive, which could be two children of the AI. So in hostile, you can set up that if they see a player, that they will chase after them. Maybe they'll chase after the passive AI. The passive AI, maybe they see the hostile and they run away from them. So you'll set it up in one so that you set it for one so that you can use it for all the children. So the hostile and passive AI, they'll still have health, they'll still have mana, they'll still have how fast can they move. And then we can also set one up for the player as well. I hope I've explained that well enough. Now that we've gone through that, let's go and put a bit of that kind of what we've learned in place. So I'm actually going to go to that B_character. I'm going to create a child blueprint. I'm going to call it B_zombie. Now, every bit of coding that we're going to put into this zombie is going to be in all of the zombies to come. So let's click into this, and where things are about to come together, I promise you. Give me a minute now. So let's go into mesh. Let's click into the mesh here. This is everything to do with the character itself. We'll come into this in another episode. Click into mesh. Go to skeletal meshes, and I am going to click into SKM Mani. Let's just click there. Compile. Save. Now, if we go into use animation blueprint, that's fine. And what we are going to click is BP_Mani. Now, he's not exactly in place, so let's rotate him. I think it's minus 90 degrees. Brilliant. And let's move him down. Oh, no, that's wrong. Oops, sorry, apologies. It's going to be this blue one, which is going to be the Y value. Let's set that to minus 90. I think it's actually a little bit off, but that's okay. Let's hit compile, save. I'm going to minimize this, and I'm going to drag that zombie into the game. So we actually could do is we can see him there. We can pick up our gun. And if we shoot, it's going to go right through him. So what this is, it's something called collision. So let's go into our zombie here. When something hits this character, it needs to actually do something. So we could put into B zombie, but for every single character, we're going to want this to happen. So let's go to B character instead. So click on B character. We're going to click on mesh. Let's come down to collision. And let's go collision preset. And I'm going to click block all. Now there's one other thing that I'm going to do just for the moment, just to make things easier for us later on so we don't have to come back here. Click on generate overlap events, and I'll probably explain, hopefully I'll remember to explain what that means later. Let's go back in and hit play, pick up our weapon. Ooh, our bullet bounces off him. There's going to be a few different ways that bullets can be handled in game. I'm going to make a separate video, hopefully, about that. We'll pop that maybe on the left or right, I don't know, something like that. Now, it's great that we have our base zombie, but let's continue that down just a little bit further. So, if we go into our zombie, and if we create a child blueprint from here, I'm going to call this zombie green. I'm going to right click on this B zombie, and I'm going to create a child, and I'm going to call this zombie red. Now, if I click into zombie green, I'm going to click into the mesh here. And just for the moment, come over to materials. And I want us to find a... Do we have anything here that would be nice? Typing grass. For element 1. And you'll see his body is going to turn into green. Wow, amazing. I'm going to do the same here for the other material as well, just so it's nice and clear for us. Cool. Now I'm going to minimize that. I'm going to come into zombie red, click on him, and let's find something red for... Nope. Right, I know he's called Mr. Red, but we're not doing materials in this, so I'm going to set him to walnut. I know, top quality video right here. So he's going to be walnut. Cool, brilliant. Now, the great thing about these guys is that they're going to get everything that we give the main zombie. All the other zombies are going to get. So, let's actually get rid of Mr. B zombie, and we can drag in these guys, and they are both zombies. Great. Now we've done a bit of inheritance, so every single zombie is going to come from that base zombie, and the zombies and our main character are going to come from our B_character. That's the first lesson, guys. So what we've covered today is the start of creating blueprints and inheritance as well. We've also covered 1 or 2 variables. We're going to do that more in the next episode. And what we're going to do is we're going to set up our main character, and we're going to start getting the first bits of logic in our main character as well. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you do, leave a like, subscribe, all that jazz, tell a friend, and till I see you again, guys, stay awesome. But hey, that's not doing anything to the zombie, you're saying. We'll get to there. I'm gonna cut that bit. Yeah, cut that. We set up a little bit, and then we set up a little bit, and then we can test things as we go along.